Boren to have to memorize it for the dwarves to invade Kraggen-Cor would take months, time the dwarves could ill afford. For the strength of the spawn had continued to grow, and each night they extended the range of their murderous raids. Yet all was not lost, for with Cotton's help, Perry had been studying the scroll, and he had committed the path to memory. And as a stripling, Perry had always wanted to be caught up in an adventure, and at last an adventure had come to him. Hence, even though Perry felt unprepared to accept the role suddenly thrust upon him, the Buccan nevertheless volunteered to go with Anvil and Boren and Lord Kraggen to rendezvous with the dwarf army and guide them along the Brega path. Impelled by friendship and loyalty, Cotton, too, answered the call to adventure. Thus Perry, Cotton, Anvil, Boren, and Lord Kraggen all sent forth upon a long journey to Landover Road Ford to meet the dwarf army, even then on the march from Mineholt north toward Kraggen-Cor. During their journey, the two Werrows, under Lord Kraggen's tutelage, began training at swords, for they would need to defend themselves should they become caught in battle. Weeks later, having overcome time, distance, food, landslide, and hunger, the five comrades rendezvoused with the army. Durek, king of the dwarfs, held a war council, and, meager though it was, all the information gleaned from the journey to the Busky Dells was reviewed. During the council, Cotton revealed that he, too, held the steps of the Brega path within his memory, thus could also serve as a guide. Hence, full of unknowns, two strike plans were settled upon. The first called for the dwarven army, with Cotton as their Brega path guide, to cross the mountains and march to the Dusk Door, where they hoped somehow to avoid or defeat the Kraken ward if there, to remove any rubble under which the door might be buried, and to enter Kraggen-Cor via that portal if it would open. But because the Dusk Door may have been broken during the Winter War, and because the arcane hinges could only be repaired from the inside, a second strike plan, coordinated with the first, was called for. Here, a squad of 7 persons, including Perry as the Brega path guide, was to journey to the Dawn Gate, somehow cross the Great Deep, and, if possible, penetrate undetected through the swarm of maggot folk and traverse the full length of Kraggen-Cor to the inside of the Dusk Door to make repairs if needed, if the gatemasters in the squad had the knowledge to do so. Following these two uncertain courses, the army marched away toward the Dusk Door, while the squad embarked for the Dawn Gate. Perry and the squad rafted down the Argonne River toward their goal, at last settling in at a riverside campsite to wait for time to pass in order to match schedules with the army. While encamped, they were attacked by a hawk-led band of rooks and nearly overwhelmed. Yet in the nick of time the squad was rescued by Ursor the Baron, a giant of a man, by Shannon Silverleaf, an elf, and by Shannon's elven company. Even so, 2 of the squad's gatemasters were lost to the mission. Tobin's leg was broken, and Barak was slain. Hence, but one gatemaster, Delk, remained to perhaps repair the possibly broken hinges, when and if the squad ever reached them. Yet it was decided that the mission must go forth, even though the loss of Tobin and Barak was a severe blow. It was also decided that Shannon and Ursor would join the quest, once again making the squad 7 strong. Meanwhile, on their own mission, Cotton and the army had marched into a mountain blizzard and had been trapped for days. Yet after an exhausting dig-out, followed by a long forced march, they arrived at last at the Dusk Door. And all the while, Cotton had borne with him a small silver horn, the horn of Narok, the horn of the Death War, a token deeply feared by the dwarves, for it was a relic of dwarven legend, a legend foretelling of a great unknown sorrow to befall the dwarfs. Indeed, the door was covered by a huge mound of rubble, and the work to remove it began. But at sundown, the Kraken ward attacked, devastating the ranks of the workers. After a desperate all-night struggle, by axe and sword and atlar blade, and fire and hammer and drill, and water and stone, the army at last defeated the Madoc, breaking the dam and draining the Black Lake, and casting huge stones down upon the monster. Even so, the creature had buried the door under even